Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Toothless of Fangs interviews with our friends from the Cincinnati music scene. Today, we've got Adam Nice from the band A.M. Nice. Adam, thanks so much for being on today.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, John.
Thank
It's a
you.
it's
Yeah,
a
it's good
real
to have you.
pleasure to be able to see you. What's been going on since March, basically? What have you been up to?
Yeah. So since March with the band, we had to cancel a bunch of shows and cancel some out of town trips, and we decided, to not do anything for a couple of months. We were supposed to record an EP in April. We had an idea of putting out like a series of 7 inches, and then so we canceled that because it was early April. We were going to do that, and we were, too nervous to do it, and the studio we are going to use was not operating, and so we just got back to rehearsing again. Sometime might have been mid June, maybe end of June, and so we've just been piling on the songs since then. And so now we're like, well, we probably won't play any shows this calendar year.
Right.
So now we're like, well, we'll just do a full length, I guess. So it's kind of been nice to just be able to relax and say, okay, we'll just take our time and learn the songs. So I always have like a stash of songs, waiting to be, for um, Nick and Jerry to learn. And so it's like, all right, we'll just take our time and learn them and let them do whatever they want to them. And so that's what we've been doing. So we've been back at rehearsing and kind of just working through material. And I think we're at the point where like we just need to kind of get tight and think about dynamics, and then figure out how we're going to record them. We've
Have
done
you
some demoing and things like that.
have you noticed any difference from the before times and then coming back now to practice together? Like, have you? Because we have yet to practice in person together, but
Yeah.
I've practiced with Go-Go Buffalo, one of the other bands I play with, and it was odd. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, well, taking that long break, when we did get together, we really wanted to play, So
Yeah.
if you ever been in a band where like you take a hiatus, take a break, and you get back, it feels great to get back to playing
Yeah.
it again. So, we could have sounded like, complete turds. We are so stoked just to be together and play again. And it was sort of like, we'll wait till everyone's comfortable. We wear masks when we play.
Yeah.
I wear one of those like gator things, and I even sing with that on, and that's pretty awful. But the room we rehearse in, we rent a room at Candyland Recording Studio.
Okay. Cool.
It's a pretty small room, and there's another band that uses it too. So it's one of these typical rehearsal spaces packed with gear, and but we're just about 6 feet apart, being a three piece, and but we were excited to get back to it, and we've got like everyone seems to have a lot of enthusiasm for it, so that's a good thing. And and everyone I think understands that if anybody's not feeling comfortable, or if like numbers start getting really crazy with the infection rate or whatever, then obviously no pressure. There's no reason to do it unless everybody wants to be there. But
Right.
it's been
Right on.
fun, not thinking about shows, not thinking about booking, just writing is really nice.
Right, like the kinds of things that if you were there's a certain like level that you can get to, I think, that I have never been at, but where you wouldn't really worry about those things. You would just be on tour, or you'd be on the
Mhm.
road to go to the next huge festival. And like
Right,
that's kind of like that storied musician life, rather than sitting in front of your computer with the copy paste booking email going,
right, right.
hey, oh, I need to change the city, and I also need to change the venue name in this email,
Yeah,
and it gets,
yeah,
so it's kind of I'm sure a relief in that way that you can just do the music.
right, yeah, focus on the best
Mhm.
part. I mean,
Right.
my favorite thing is probably to perform live.
Mhm.
I've played with other people, they just wanna write and record and not really interested in playing live. They just kinda wanna write the perfect song and then make the perfect recording, and you just never get there. I mean, other people I've played with would laugh to hear me say this because I always say, it's a performing art. You're supposed to perform it. So I'm like, you gotta perform it. Like that's the whole. And it's okay to like not be that good, and get better live. Like you can make progress live in front of people. That's okay to
Oh,
Sure.
do. You
absolutely.
know, don't be afraid of being perfect.
Yeah, just
Right.
getting out there.
On
Yeah.
that
Booking your
note,
first show and getting
what skills have you garnered from playing live that you brought to the studio? I think a lot of people don't think about the crossover. I think about that all the time, but I'm interested to hear your perspective. Like, how have you seen playing live inform the way you operate in the
Right.
studio recording setting?
Yeah. So I'm not a good singer. I'm not like a natural singer. I was always just a guitar player or bass player in bands, and then through having no band, I started singing and writing my own songs, and definitely playing live. I've had some incremental but necessary improvements in my singing, just confidence. I'm not nervous to sing live. If you
Right.
caught me in college, I never would have sang live like at a show. I was always playing bass or playing guitar. And so now I have no problem singing live, for better for worse. I'm comfortable doing it, and then that translates to the studio to recording too, because you have to sing. You can't be timid when you're recording, and you need to perform in the studio just like you would live with that same energy and that same. You need to go at it like you would a live show. I mean, I know my band and other bands I played have played like the worst shows, like these crappy shows. I know you guys have had a bad show here or there, but you still have to go for it and have fun and like, do your thing the best you can, no matter what. And that translates to the studio too. I mean, I've certainly doing home recordings. I listened to old recordings I did 10, 15 years ago. They're, you know, you could tell I was nervous, even
Mhm.
just like
Right.
in my own apartment didn't
Mhm.
have the confidence to sing and things like that. So I think that translates, and that and just getting tight.
Yep.
Yeah.
You always use a lot of shows when there's like 2 or 3 people there. There's just basically like live rehearsals.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
This is a
yeah,
rehearsal
yeah.
that matters a little more.
And a big
Yeah.
part of that is like, are you gonna say like, "Oh, this is terrible," and get in your head
Yeah.
and get weird and be self-conscious about it all? Or are you just gonna say, "Well, we're here. I'm gonna, do the damn thing and try to go
Mhm.
for it
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
for these, 5 people or whatever."
Well,
Yeah.
5 is a
So
little high sometimes.
yeah, 5. I mean, I'm talking Saturday night,
Oh, yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
5.
Yeah.
Oh, big shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Saturday Night 5.
Yeah, yeah, the good turnout.
Right, right. When
Yeah.
you invite your friends and they show up for you.
Yeah,
We almost got paid.
the bass player's wife, the drummer's girlfriend,
Yep.
and a couple other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where we're at, just demoing and writing, it's fun.
Were the 7 inches, that you were thinking about putting out, was that, like was the concept to put out 7 inches, or did you have songs in mind first?
All of the above. It was like,
Okay.
let's do this in little chunks. One, it's sort of more
Mm.
affordable
Mhm.
to record in smaller chunks, to do small runs. So it's like, let's just do a 7 inch, 3 or 4 songs, whatever fits, couple songs and a couple downloads. And we were going to, like, over the course of a year, try to put out one, every 4 months or something like that, and just break them up into small releases.
Mhm.
Um, Limited edition kind of small releases was sort of the idea, because uh, I don't know. I don't know why how we came up with that idea. I don't know what made us think that was a good idea. I guess one, it's easier to get that chunk of money to go record 3 songs,
Mhm.
rather because we can do like DIY recordings. We've done that in the past, but now we rehearse in a building that has this great recording studio. So like, well, let's record here and pay. All our records in the past have been done in a friend's basement or at a plywood room at Loud and Clear. We
Right.
like
Mhm.
flow our friend, here's $300 or here's $500, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
thanks for this labor of love. And it's just kind of these DIY projects. But now we're like, well, let's pay to record and try to make them sound decent.
Well,
And so
I think they sound great. I mean, what I've been listening to, I think it all sounds really good.
Mhm.
yeah, we
I'm a
got
big
kind of
fan.
lucky with with friends that are like, yeah, we'll do it, just because they were
Mhm.
willing to do it for free or nothing, and
Right.
So yeah, thank you. I mean, it's always rolled the dice when you're just like working with a buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
Oh
like,
yeah, and it's like it's hard to be like, well, let's spend another 3 hours getting the snare mic set properly. I know you're
yeah,
doing this for free, and you also want to go home to your
yeah,
cats and your
yeah, right,
family. Like,
right, right, yeah, yeah,
it's a hard balance to strike, and you don't want to like alienate your friendships either.
yeah, right, yeah, it is.
All right, Adam, before we started the show tonight, we were talking a little bit about the music that you shared with your sons, and I wanted to take a second and ask you about, ask us all about the music that our parents deliberately shared with us, and then we can work that. Adam, I'd like to hear what you're sharing with your sons. So,
Sure.
yeah, what did you grow up with that like your dad or your mom
Hmm.
played for you as like a this is what's cool?
Yeah. So I'm very lucky because my parents are very cool and have very good taste in music, you know.
Mhm,
So my mom, I grew up with, you know, mom, dad, and stepdad. My stepdad is younger than my mom by almost 10 years. So that was great too, because my mom obviously played me lots of classic rock,
mhm,
whether it was, you know, Beatles, Doors, Led Zeppelin, anything, you know, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, anything you can think of from like the late 60s, early 70s. But she listened to contemporary music. You know, when I was a kid, I'm 39. So in the 80s, you know, she was listening to the Police and Talking Heads. And so I listened to a lot of that stuff. And my stepdad listened to that. I remember my dad playing The Cars all the time
mhm.
and also Billy Joel, and I did like me some Billy Joel when I was a young
Yeah.
kid. But I think I knew, like, the Talking Heads were cool. I remember watching the Stop Making Sense, like, movie, and, they listened to a lot of David Bowie, um, which, you know, he was doing some cool stuff even in the '80s,
Yeah.
and they were really good about letting me listen to whatever I wanted to listen to, so, um but, you know, my parents are really big on, okay, if you're listening to, I don't know, you know, if you're listening to Nirvana, you need to find out what those guys listen to. Like they were always big
Mm,
into like sort of the history and like the musicology of it. Like listen to the things that, you know, your favorite guitar player, whatever influences him or her, check that out too. And so that was great. And then, you know, Ken Burns released this like history of rock and roll documentary when I was, you know, maybe in, I don't know, ninth grade or something like that, you know, freshman. And and I remember watching that and thinking that was great too in terms of learning about Howling Wolf and all these, you know, kind of proto rock and roll people.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, they were great about letting me go to punk shows and things as a young. I remember getting dropped off at all ages shows and getting picked up, and when I was like, you know, 13 years old, they let me go
Yeah.
to like Lollapalooza when I was 13. I mean, so they were cool about that. So it was great.
Very nice. Do you think that's
Yeah.
something you'll pass on to your children, or has yours
Yeah.
changed?
Yeah. I mean, I try to. So I have two sons. One's going to be a second grader, one's going to be a fifth grader. And I try to like, I'm cognizant of like, I don't want to push it onto them, you know, like I get that I'm the dad and like I'm not cool to them, you know, and but I'm always playing music around the house. I'm like, hey, listen to this. And certain things stick with them.
right.
Um, you know, they'll listen to, I'll catch them like, you know, in their room playing the Ramones greatest hits a lot. That's a go-to for them. I
Mhm.
think, you know, and I think it speaks to them the same way it speaks to everybody else. It's simple. You can sing along to it. You can memorize the chorus. It's like funny and kind of like slightly like naughty, right? Like, you know, I mean, I hear my 7-year-old singing, "Somebody put something in my drink."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Do you know what that's about?" He's like, "Yeah, they put like something in his drink.
Yeah.
They put a drug in his drink." I'm like, "Okay, as long as you know what you're singing
Yeah.
about, I guess."
Yeah.
You know, but I'll play them. I'll play them anything. I'll play them. You know, I'll play them like hardcore metal. Like, listen to this. This sounds crazy. And I'll say, like, what do you think about this? They'll be like Converge or Cave In.
You're 6.
I
It's
say,
time for Earth Crisis.
yeah, and they'll say that sounds scary. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of scary. Or I was playing Mikachu and the Shapes. I'm like, listen to this. This person like sampled a garbage can and breaking glass for this beat, and listen to all these weird sounds, and there's like cats meowing in the background, and so I'll play them. Just listen to how weird this is, or I'll play rap for them, whatever.
Yeah.
I want them just to hear insane things, then figure out whatever they want from there. If they want to listen to, Taylor Swift and Old Town Road and stuff, I don't care. As
She
long,
makes her money,
yeah, yeah. So
Well, hey,
I
with the
try not to push
musicology
it.
part, if they listen to Old Town Road, they'll get into Nine Inch Nails real quick if they
Mhm.
follow that
Yeah,
logic.
yeah,
So,
I know. I could do that. I could say, here's some, here's some Trent Reznor for you.
yeah, you're into Lil Nas
Yeah,
X. All right, listen to Ghosts.
right. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And I've got a PA in my basement, and my ex drummer left his drum set here, and I've got guitars and a bass amp. So I've got like instruments all over the house. So we make a lot of noise, and we record little songs together,
Oh, that's
and
That's
fun.
great.
write little songs together and stuff. It's
Yeah.
funny. We'll write songs about Minecraft and record them on Bandcamp and stuff. It's fun.
Oh, we gotta get that link.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could send you stuff. They've got a
To
band
be
called
exclusive.
yeah. I'll send you one. They've got their band's called the Brobots.
That's
No,
great.
So I'll,
I
yeah,
am here for it.
I'll send
That's
you a Brobots track.
Yeah, we'll see what we can put together with that.
Yeah.
So, John, I know you were feeling a certain sort of way with the Nirvana thing. Was like, I know because that's John's favorite of favorites. Was Nirvana a thing that your parents like? I mean, that was youth music of our time. So, did they have a feeling about that, or were they just like, okay, whatever?
Are you asking me?
Yes, John, the drummer.
Oh, okay. Sorry. They weren't really familiar with them as much. They kind of tried to. I was like really obsessed.
Yeah.
In a really almost unhealthy. It wasn't almost. It was unhealthy. But it was cathartic for me at that time in my life. And they didn't understand it. They were more into. I mean, my dad was into good stuff. He was into like AC/DC and Zeppelin, Black Sabbath.
Mhm.
So we bonded over, and like ZZ Top was like one of my first bands that I was into. But they didn't understand the Nirvana thing until I was an adult, and they finally just started listening to it, and now they have an appreciation.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, Nirvana was the antithesis to all those like guitar
Oh, yeah.
god bands. I mean, it was the polar opposite of like I mean, it was a response more to the 80s metal, but like that like classic rock guitar solos all over the place and everything's clean and tidy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go through my dad's CDs, and I mean, he had, among other things, I mean, like White Snake and other hair metal bands, and that was what he was into. So it just didn't resonate with him, and he would never really listen to punk music or alternative until later. And I introduced him to a lot of stuff that he actually listens to now. So
their generation's mumble rap.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Especially Kurt Cobain's vocals. I mean, you could make the argument that that's straight up like Lil Peep or Lil
It
Xan or
is.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like Mexican Seafood or Hairspray Queen. Those songs are, he mumbles a lot.
Deep cut reference.
Yeah.
Deep cuts
Like
with Tremor John.
Side B of Bleach or something. I don't even know the name of those
I know.
songs.
Like,
Those
it's like,
are on Incesticide. It's
Oh, are they?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
outtakes and B-sides, so they're literally B-sides. Yeah.
it's like stuff that they improvised and played one time. John's like, oh yeah, that's
Mhm.
Paramount.
I know.
That was the
Yeah.
soundtrack at the Paramount. Just they only played it one time. They didn't really write it. They just played it. You know, like Nirvana was apt to do.
Yeah.
Nick, did you grow up with? I know what your tastes are, but like, did that come from your parents, or was this like a friend thing? What happened?
I would say that there's certainly a massive influence, like my obsession with and penchant for vocal harmony, I think comes definitely from both of my parents' taste in music. So my parents had very just different taste in music. My dad was born in 1950 and grew up in he's white, but he grew up in a like basically predominantly black neighborhood and was just obsessed with Motown. Like that was all he listened to. So like Four Tops, Four Seasons, Temptations, just like that was what he listened to. Like that side of like late 50s, early 60s pop versus like the Beatles or like the rock and roll side. My mom was kind of just hymns and bluegrass. So both vocal harmony, I mean, obviously are huge and like really interesting, intricate movement, kind of like classical composition type harmony. And I think I graded against both of those for a long time. Less the Motown stuff, but certainly the hymns and the bluegrass when I was younger. But I think now looking back, it's like, okay, this clearly informed a lot of my taste in music, or what I gravitate towards, especially as I get older. Like I think harmony is more and more interesting. But yeah, I mean, like probably the earliest memory I have, I mean, ironically, like the Beatles wasn't one of my dad's favorite bands, but like we really bonded over the One record, the Beatles One record with like the yellow goldish numeral 1 on it. That was probably one of my first memories of like critically listening to an album with my dad was that. So yeah, I mean, like my taste in music certainly has diverged from that. And I don't think much of my taste was formed, I guess, by the music my parents listened to or like shared with me. It was more formed on my own afterwards. A lot of it was kind of in reaction to what they shared with me almost. Growing up like pretty sheltered with like Christian music, contemporary Christian music was what we listened to and things like that. And like, well, this kind of sucks. Like the more I got into playing music and like wanted just more interesting things or more substance lyrically or more substance musically or whatever. And yeah, so like I got like really into like hardcore and metal, which is just the polar opposite. I mean, mostly just rebellion in a lot of ways. And then, I mean, like In Rainbows, that was like a lightning strike for me. It was the right time. I was a sophomore in high school, and like it's still, I would say, a perfect record. Like it was exactly what I needed musically and personally, and kind of like in that very transitory time and growth and development. But so I think like a lot of my current taste in music and kind of like focus, I guess, was formed more in high school than childhood, I guess.
Fair. Yeah. And so growing up for me, the first things that I remember my mom played me was the Les Mis soundtrack.
Nice.
Except Master of the House, she would
she
would strategically turn the knob with the volume.
Would you do it with Lovely Ladies as well, or just Master of the House?
Probably. But Master of the House is such a great song.
Yeah,
like for a kid too, like it's romping, and so she would like turn it down when they swore, and I just thought it was something she was doing. It was like, that's fun. So like I can remember I tried that, and she was like, "That's what do you?" I don't think she knew why I was doing it. I was doing it because like that was the thing Mom did.
Yeah.
And then this is actually the second time on this show that this has come up. Riding to soccer practice with my dad in his
blasting
70s.
Les Mis.
Well, no, this is dad.
Just you and your dad doing Jean Valjean and Javert back and forth.
Stoked for soccer.
He had a 70s Jensen Healey, which is a kind of a rare convertible red, and he'd drive me to soccer practice, and I just remember Born in the USA. So he played that.
Perfect.
And then he had Nitty Gritty Dirt Band as well, like that. You and me going fishing in the dark. That, do you guys? I mean, that was
no, I don't.
Oh, it's a great tune. But those are like the first things I remember. And then he gave my brother and I a copy of Spike by Elvis Costello, which isn't. I mean, like for me,
cool gift.
Super formative album. And I mean, from there, that was it. I mean, I don't know. And then like I can remember my dad also, I owe him this. He introduced me to 97X. He was like, "Oh, I was like sixth or seventh grade. And he was like, "You're gonna love this station. It's called," and I can remember this conversation. It's called alternative music because it's like an alternative to what you normally hear. He was like, I heard this one song on there, and it was like this story about this girl, and like, she would have toast, and like
That's great.
instead
That
of
is
putting jelly on her toast, she would put Vaseline on it.
Yeah.
And I can
Oh my
remember thinking
gosh.
to myself, that sounds wild. And then the other song at the same time was
Oh yeah.
by the Crash Test
Oh, the
Dummies.
Crash
Yeah,
Test
yeah.
Dummies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that was like but that's like I picked up a guitar around that same time, and like the idea of like for a while I wanted to be a DJ on the radio, which I mean I'm not doing anything like that right now.
Pretty
So
cool. I
yeah,
mean,
I wanted to be, and then like I shadowed up at 97X a bunch of times. But for that, like I think 97X, that idea of radio is the biggest influence. Like
Hmm.
I love Smashing Pumpkins, of course. I love guitar rock, but
mhm.
it was 97X. It was just like that, like you had a wide variety of songs. And so like I still think I write like that. Like you don't have to write all 3 minute
Right.
136 BPM
Yeah.
bangers, you
Right.
know? You don't have to be full distortion all the time. You can be sad sometimes in a quiet way, not like a
Yeah.
loud, but a quiet sad. And that kind of brings me back to we brought up Nirvana as the antithesis of 80s hair metal. And Adam, you play guitar in AM Nice, so I want your thoughts on like what is it's a big question, but like what's going on with guitar these days? Like is this
Oh
you have
yeah.
you have two boys that are young, so you're going to be closer to that um that demographic of like is the guitar cool? Is the guitar going to be cooler again? Like what's happening?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I talk about that a lot with some of my friends, right? So, okay, guitar is dead and guitar rock is dead. And I guess I probably believe that. I mean, I guess I think that the way I play the guitar, the way I write music, I'm playing this kind of dead genre. But I still like it. I'm still going to do it. I'm
Mhm.
not going to go get an MPC and a synthesizer. Although I like that stuff too, but I'm not going to chase after something more contemporary necessarily. But you know, I, so I do. I spend a lot of time thinking that yeah, it's probably sort of a dead kind of genre. Kind of a dead kind of art form. But at the same time, I'm listening to like 2 weeks ago, I started listening to that new Proto Martyr album, and I like obsessed with it. Like I listened to it 3 times a day, every day, like 10 days in a row. And I'm like, this record is so good, and it's such a guitar. I mean, it's very much about the vocals, but they're a guitar band.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Hum released a new album, right? And
Yep.
that's obviously a guitar band. And I listened to all these bands, these like punk bands on Dirt Nap Records, and local bands like Vacation, and I'm like, these are all guitar bands, and these are people writing new music, contemporary music, and there's a place for it, and people like it. So I'm kind of like, who cares if it's not the mainstream? That might do it some good for a while.
Yeah.
That might be a good thing for a while. Um, you know, and I think that lets you kind of push and pull on some corners. If the guitar solo is killed, maybe the guitar solo will have some glorious return, soon, and people will start experimenting with that. And then, in a ways, I think that's what Saint Vincent did for a while,
Oh yeah.
and so she's this shredder on the guitar, and so yeah, I don't think it'll ever die. I mean, I think it's here to stay in terms of people always want to make rock music. People always want to go to a hole in the wall bar and make rock music, and listen to it. Will it be popular the way it was maybe when it peaked in 1994 or something like that? Probably not. But yeah, so I think it's not going to go like the way of the baseball card, but it might be more like it'll wax and wane. But
Mhm.
as soon as I think it's dead, I hear some new album that's guitar driven that like
Right.
blows me away.
Yeah.
Whether it's derivative or it's derivative with a twist or it's derivative in a unique way. I don't know if there's anything else you can do with guitar that hasn't been done already, but you can find different ways to, um, you know, you can find different ways to be influenced and be derivative and make it uniquely your own also, I think. I think there's a way to
Maybe,
do it all.
yeah, maybe you find this. I find that like the guitar, it's a little bit weird. Like it's not weird because we play it and everybody knows what it looks like, but just the way that there's 6 strings and you can't play like on a piano, you want to play a C chord in closed position, like boom, do it. But on a
Mhm.
guitar, there's a lot of like, well, just make it work on the guitar. So do you find that
Right.
when you're writing for guitar that like the guitar drives the songs sometimes just because this is like a really kinesthetic way to play it, or like this chord sounds good, it just happened to be where I put my fingers rather than thinking about the notes?
Yeah, so I try to get myself to do a combination of all of that. Like if
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the notes too much and thinking about, music theory too much, I try then to spend some time just making some noise or looking for a pattern or a geometric shape or something on
Mm,
the
Yeah.
guitar.
yeah.
And I try to, and then if I get in the habit of that, then I'll say, you know what, let me take some time and think about like this minor seven chord, or whatever, and try to do something thoughtful, um, and kind of apply music theory and think about the notes. And then, I try to always do something different. I might write a song on the piano and then try to learn on the guitar. I might write, you know what I mean? I won't
Yeah.
switch the mediums back and forth just to kind of always discover something new or new to my ears. And the thing I struggle with most is I try to like break my habits. I'm always trying to. If I find myself getting in a habit, I'm like, I got to do something, even if it's one or two songs to kind of break the habit I'll fall into.
Yep.
So
That's
it's you got to do all of that. I think you got to do something cathartic, then you have to do something more geeky and intellectual music theory related too. I think.
How do you think that's changed your approach to songwriting or playing? Like having that intent to break your habits.
Well, you end up, one, you get like, I have a short attention span. I'll write 8 songs, and by the time, whoever I'm playing with learns them and comes up with their parts, I'm sick of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well now I'm always thinking like 2 sets of music ahead.
mhm.
It's like the stuff we're working on and recording, and oh, but I kind of got these other 5 or 6 songs I want you to learn, and then at home I'm writing another 5 or 6. So I have a hard time as soon as I kind of do something. I'm like, well, what's next? And whether that's breaking some habit, for a while, I'm like, I want to write like a 2 chord song, or I haven't played
Yeah.
like an E major chord, like an open E major, in like 5 years in a song. So I'm like, let me just do some simple
Yeah.
EAB kind of song,
Yeah.
like, because I haven't done that and find a way to do that. So I think it's maybe a bad thing in a way because like I can't pay attention long enough to I probably don't focus on the content long enough to make like better content, because I'm like, what's next? What's next is sort of a attention span issue, I think.
That's
So
really good
I
and
can
honest.
relate with that too, though, because I
yeah,
mean, I write songs and I'm always trying to think of something that's I haven't done before, and play a chord that I haven't played before, and write stuff. And then as soon as I come up with something, I have another idea, and I just
yeah,
I end up having a lot of sketches and not a whole
right.
lot of finished ideas.
Hmm.
The Kevin Barnes approach.
Hmm.
Right? You just need 20 seconds, then you can kind of haphazardly knit it together. And
This song has 15 songs of ideas.
Right. Yeah.
all right, well, with that, let's move to the lightning round. I think John's going to do it again tonight. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, I'm pulling them up right now.
Very good. So, Adam, what
It's a
we do
very
with the
important
lightning
test. We
round?
hope you pass.
Yeah, we are keeping score. And so these are classic ands, and we're turning them into classic ors. Are you ready, Adam
Mhm.
Nice?
I think I understand the concept. This is a little. Yeah, let's go for it. I'm ready.
It's
Okay.
cerebral.
Yeah, it'll take some thought, but I think you can get
There's
it.
no pressure, but none of the previous guests have gotten any of these questions wrong.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the first one is Hall or Oates.
Hall and Oates.
Hall or Oates.
I don't understand. What am I
You got to
supposed to?
pick. You got to pick.
So these are now an or. I understand the concept now. I was making it more complicated.
Yep.
I don't know which is which. I don't think. Which is the one with the mustache and the dark hair? I went that one. I went Oates.
That's Oates, and
Yeah.
I like
that's
it.
the correct
Decisive.
answer.
Very good.
You heard
Well
it here first, folks. I want Oates.
Oates.
I really
is
thought
the-
you were going to. Anyway, go ahead. Go. I'll keep on the game.
No, what would you thinking?
I thought you were going to name things that historically have been ands, and now conceptually we're going to think of them as ors.
Oh, I'm not that smart.
like cookies and cream was going to be. I don't know. I can't think of a good one. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. H or R block.
H or R block. I think I got to go H block.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Tim or Eric.
Oh, Eric.
Okay, I'm a Tim guy, but that's still the right answer.
Nice.
Harry or the Hendersons.
You know, the Hendersons were so disrespectful to Harry.
I agree.
And
I
the
agree.
scene where he says, go on, you can't live with us anymore, go back to where you came from, go back to the
Horrible.
I can't forgive him for that, so I'm going Harry.
That's a good choice.
Yes.
And then the last one is Snap, Crackle, or Pop.
Pop.
There you go.
All right.
5 out of 5.
That's
All
correct.
right. Well done, Adam Nice.
Wonderful.
That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Well, we put you in the hot seat, but
You
we
studied
don't
well.
Yeah, you did a lot of studying for this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in to our interview with Adam Nice. You got to keep your ear to the grindstone for that new music. I think that's the phrase, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Soon you won't be able to hear anything, but
Your
for a
hair-
little bit you will.
And so, Adam, we've got links to AM Nice music and in the description of this video for people that want to find it. Is there anything else that you'd like to plug while you're here?
Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep 6 feet apart,
All right.
Yes.
and vote.
Indeed.
Yes. Yes. And
Awesome.
vote for sure.
Yeah,
And-
please do that.
All right. Thank you so much, Adam. It's been
Thanks,
a real
Adam.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you should know
guys. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, John. Thanks, Nick.